Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to make sugar cookies with me, Robert, in Michigan. So what you're gonna need is 3/4 of a cup of butter. You could also say it as 3 small sticks. You're also going to need 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 4 cups of flour, 1½ teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 1½ cups of sugar. So what we're going to do first is combine the dry ingredients. I have my flour, and I'm going to put in the baking powder and salt and give that just a quick whisk to combine. Alright, so now that we have our dry ingredients combined, I am going to begin by putting the butter into a large mixing bowl. As you could see from the mess on my hands, the butter is soft. It's at room temperature. It's been out for I think about all day, but this is just to make sure that it's nice and easy to mix with. I'm going to put in my sugar, and I'm going to take my spoon since I don't have a hand mixer here in Michigan. I'm just going to cream these together using my spoon. What I'm gonna do now is crack in my eggs one at a time, and I am going to stir that in. And it's going to help with the creaming process. It's gonna help everything come together. You could see that the mixture is starting to loosen up because of the addition of the first egg. I'm just going to get that nicely well combined here. And now that it's nicely well combined, see it looks pretty creamy, I'm going to put in my second egg. And then start to mix that in too. And next, the vanilla extract. Now always use pure vanilla extract. Don't use the imitation vanilla extract because that will not taste very good. As you could see, this is looking as creamy as mashed potatoes here. What I'm gonna do now is I am going to add some of the dry ingredients to this mixture here. I'm gonna alternate. And what I have just done here is I have preheated the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I will put this in there once it's fully at the temperature, and I also made sure that there's no kitchen items in the oven. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in another portion of this mixture in and start to mix that in. Alright, so since the dough became too thick to mix with that wooden spoon that I just used, I'm now just using my hands to incorporate it. So when I added my last portion of flour, I did this in about 3 portions here. I realized that I thought it would be much easier to switch to my hands to mix. And then after a few moments of it looking dry, it started to come together. If you find that your dough is looking too dry, you could add like a tablespoon of water. That would really help it come together. But just look at how beautifully this has come together. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take all the little crumbles of dough and form it into a nice little ball here. And then I am going to use a cookie scoop to scoop the dough out onto my cookie sheet. Okay, so this right here is a nice big cookie tray. I wanted to use, oh, that's my oven. You know when that beep goes off, that means it's fully preheated. But anyway, let's get back to this. So I wanted to make a nice large cookie sheet. I wanted to buy one, I'm sorry. But I wanted to get this so that way I could fit more cookies on there. Because usually, if you ended up cooking all the batches, it would just flatten out and like it would turn into a sugar cookie cake. So that's what we don't want. What we do want is we want to take some of this dough here, and with my cookie scoop, I am going to just put it onto the cookie sheet. Now, this is an ungreased pan. Just make sure to leave some room here between the cookies because they're gonna spread. So I'm about going to do, I'm gonna do about 4 scoops. I'm just gonna spread them out evenly so that they'll be able to bake. And then I'm gonna end up doing a second batch, I think. I'm gonna start with 12 of these cookies as the first batch. And this is a really cool cookie scoop. It'll really help out. If you don't have one of these, what you can do is you could just pick the dough up, roll it into a ball, and just plop it on there. So we have 12 cookies here. I am going to put this first batch into my 350 degree oven for about 10 minutes. Let's go. Okay, so here is my first batch, and I have baked these for 10 minutes. I left them in for about 10, and then I realized that they weren't flattening out as easy. If you want them to flatten out, you can use some baking soda, because baking soda is known to make the dough flatten out. But since I didn't use baking soda, I decided, because I didn't see any flattening going on, I decided to take a fork and then press it down like you might see in peanut butter cookies. So after I pressed these cookies down with a fork, I put them back in the oven for about 14 minutes, and now they look really, really good. It's chewy in the middle and nice and crispy on the center. And I have this much left. You know what Robert does. He doesn't waste anything. So I'm gonna leave my oven on. I am going to whip through one more batch, and then we should get about a good total of 24 cookies. I'm gonna whip through those, press it down with a fork, put it in the oven for, I think, about 11 to 12 minutes, and then we will have the perfect sugar cookies. All right, so my second batch is done. I have a total now of 24 baked sugar cookies. Now here's why I used baking powder instead of baking soda. So wait a second. This recipe that I'm using came from the container of the sugar here. So on the back, you could see it. But after you mix the dough, it is way more different. So you have to, you know, roll it out and then do whatever else it says. But I made them a little different, and then I ended up making the right choice so they could come out as cookies and not just big balls of cooked, what they look like is ice cream. Because when you scoop your dough out, it looks like ice cream. So 24 baked cookies, but I have a little more dough than what I expected. So guess what I'm gonna do? I am going to put in one more batch of these wonderful babies. And I will once again let these bake for another good 11 minutes, 12 minutes. It all depends. And I'm going to press those down with a fork as usual. And then we will have the best sugar cookies ever. Alright, so here is my third batch, and I ended up making a total of approximately 31 cookies, I think. Oh no. 33 cookies. 33 cookies. I added it up. I thought I did 35, and then I immediately realized that it was 33. Now, just look at these amazing babies here. This recipe makes more than 2 dozen cookies. I'm gonna show you what the inside of the cookie looks like. Chewy on the inside and crunchy on the outside. I'm gonna take a little bite. That is so good. Hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I will see you next time. Bye!